Hey guys, on today's podcast, we are joined by the super positive ray of sunshine. Honestly, she just oozes positivity wherever she goes. And such an incredible businesswoman, Susie Ma, who's the owner of Tropic Skincare. She was also on The Apprentice and she actually didn't win, but she was the first person to get an investment from Lord Sugar. So she is honestly badass bitch. She is female, honestly, entrepreneur. I look up to her a lot. She's got such a big passion. She's come from an amazing background, and it really just proves that you can make yourself and you can make anything of yourself if you have that passion and you have that belief. So get stuck into this episode. Let me know what you thought of it, and please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and let me know by leaving a review and tagging me in all your socials. So welcome to the podcast, Susie. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Courtney, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So I was telling you earlier about how I fell in love with a podcast that you've done. I think it was the High Performance Podcast, right?
Yeah.
And you were just so positive, and it was the first time I've actually listened to an entire podcast. So well done on that, because I've got a very short attention span.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk a bit about your brand. So Tropic Skincare, it's grown massively. Obviously, you're quite young as well, aren't you?
I don't think I'm as young as you. I'm 32 now.
That's still young for your business.
Thank you.
Still very young. So tell me a
young.
little bit about Tropic. What is its ethos? Why did you want to create it?
Yeah, so I actually started Tropic when I was 15 years old. So it's been a very, very long time since I started the company. And we are a freshly made, British-made skincare company. But we also do body care and makeup. And we have an infinite purpose, which is to help create a healthier, greener, and more empowered world, just so that we can be that force for good beyond just selling beauty products.
I think that's really nice as well, because I think a lot of the time it's either to cure acne or to make people look the best that they can. But you've also got to think of, like with beauty products as well, like a lot of the materials cause the world to obviously go in a negative cycle. And as well, like I think a lot of people focus on perfumed and making their skin smell nice, and you don't actually realize the harm that it's doing to your skin. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, exactly. I think especially with the beauty industry, it's something that is, if I can be completely honest, it's something that's completely vain and just for us. It's not like the food industry that you need to do.
Yeah.
But for beauty, it's just for us. And we have to look at the environmental impact, and also the health impacts on the planet, on ourselves when you use certain beauty products. And I just think that the beauty industry really needs to raise its bar in terms of its ethical standards, in terms of its packaging, sustainability measures for the future. And also the ingredients, where they sourced, are they from petrochemical derivatives, which contributes to climate change, just to make sure that every step of the process of manufacturing is considerate to the environment.
Where did your love for skincare come from? Because obviously this isn't just something you wake up and you think, I want to do this. Where did that come from?
I fell in love with skincare through my grandma when I was growing up. She's still alive today. She's like 95 now. I can't even remember how old she is. She's always like, I'm almost 100. But she still has the most amazing skin.
Yeah.
Because from a really young age, she always looked after her skin. But not only that,
my mum told me this.
Her body as well, in the same way that you exercise and you eat well.
And
my grandma's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. Really, really looking after her skin from the inside out. And just from a really young age, we used to make like body butters together, body scrubs, soaps, facial moisturizers, really simple recipes just to pamper our skin and make us feel good. And it was like a real luxury treat for us.
You used to sell your body scrubs at Greenwich Market.
I did,
so I actually went to school in Greenwich, just up the hill.
You?
Yeah.
So you went to the market then, I take it?
Yeah, so I used to go to school at St Ursula's, which is at the top of the hill, the all-girls school.
Yeah.
And you'd come down, all the stores was in there, so I know exactly the sort of setup that it would have been.
Nice.
It's so cool. What made you think to even start doing that?
So my mum was already working at Greenwich Market selling hair products, and I used to go and help
for a
her.
pound note.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she was already there, and she was selling her products there, and I used to help her over the weekend sometimes, and and I looked at other store holders, and sometimes I'd work for them, and I just thought there's got to be something better. Like I want to sell something that I'm more passionate about, and so I thought, you know what? My grandma used to make these amazing body scrubs with me. If I love them, maybe other people will love them too. So I just whipped some up in some jam jars, and when I was 15 years old, over the summer school holidays, took them with me to Greenwich Market and just started hustling.
They sell well straight away, or?
They sold really well straight away.
Okay, cool.
Actually, on my first day, I completely sold out. So I had like 50 jam jars. I took one as a tester to do my demonstration, because that's very important when you're selling stuff, to demo your product.
Probably run out.
Yeah. And so I had 49 to sell, and I sold all 49 pieces at £20 each. So that was £980 my first day.
That's
So it was,
amazing.
yeah. I
Your
mean, for a
profit.
15-year-old, no, that was just the sales. Take
Okay,
away,
cool.
like the cost was about £200
Yeah.
for the raw materials.
though.
And then plus like the store fee and the travel. So, take away like £250 and there we go. So
I mean,
not bad.
when you're buying beauty products as well, I don't know about you, but when you can tell that someone's really passionate about what they're selling,
Yeah.
it does, even if it's a load of shit what they're telling you, it makes you really believe the product. So I can imagine you there, you've just stirred this up in the kitchen, you're like, this is the best body scrub. When I sometimes mix coconut oil and like Himalayan scrub and stuff, and I'm going to my girls, honestly, this is going to make your skin. I persuade my girls to put anything on their face and their skin, and they come back for a couple of weeks later and they're like, this made me break up. I'm like, it wasn't me. But when you have a passion for something, it just shines through, I think.
Yeah. And also, I think there's a real gap in the market for fresh, delicious products that are made with real heart and soul.
Yeah.
Like there's so many brands out there and they sell skincare just to make money.
Yeah.
So they sell whatever the fad is. They look at what's selling in the market, they just copy it and just do the same thing.
Yeah.
But for me back then, and even to this day, every single product was created with so much love and passion and so much time. Like, I talk about selling out on my very first day, but those 50 body scrubs that I made
took you a while.
Took me a week to make.
Yeah.
Like, I actually designed the logo, my first ever Tropic logo in Microsoft Word and Paint.
It's always been called Tropic.
It's always been called
Amazing,
Tropic.
yeah.
And I designed it I came up with the word just because the ingredients are from a tropical location.
Yeah.
But I designed the logo in Microsoft Word and Paint. I like printed them out onto like a just literally piece of paper, stuck each label meticulously with Pritt stick onto these jam jars, and then filled each one. So it was really a labor of love. And I think when I was selling it and demonstrating it and sharing it with my customers on that very first day, they obviously got that. They got the passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they bought into the product.
I've said if I ever do anything with beauty, obviously the thing that I hate is like people that just make brands for the sake of it, as we just said. And I think a lot of people all the time will just make a brand and do it for the sake of it. Yeah, I could have 1,000 million brands right now, but I don't want to because I don't have passion. But I've always said if I was going to make my own beauty brand, it would be to help people with acne. Because I don't know if you wouldn't know, but I had cystic acne when I was younger, like really bad. And I went through so many different like stages of it, like the acne scarring, the really painful things, people trying to put me on different tablets. And I think skins can really affect people, and it can really like ruin people's confidence, and it can really like make people not go in for jobs, make people like not enter relationships full like wholeheartedly. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. I think because I know how much it can really affect someone. I hate the whole fact of someone can be judged so much by their skin, and it just puts them in it can give you such low confidence. So
absolutely, it's the first thing you think about in the morning when you wake up. Like, what's my skin looking like
first
this morning?
Thing you do is you see.
Yeah. And the last thing you look at when you go to bed, it's like, oh God, my skin's looking like this. What can I do to it? Yeah. And I also think there's so much misunderstanding when it comes to skin, especially for girls, young girls who are suffering from acne. The natural assumption is that you need to strip the skin, take away all the oil, wash it, scrub it away, use any kind of medication just to get rid of it. And it can really dry out the skin. And actually a lot of people who suffer from acne who went too harsh in their younger years suffer from other skin conditions when they're older, like eczema or, other dry skin conditions because they've damaged their skin barrier when they were younger by being too harsh.
Yeah. I think that's what I've done.
I've done
an all or nothing thing. I've been suffering the eczema on my eye, which they've just given me steroids for.
Oh, really?
But honestly, I've not had any dry skin, eczema or anything for my whole life. And last year when I was at the peak of my stress, I actually was getting a stye every morning I woke up and my whole eye was shut. And then I got the eczema on my eye. It's gone now, thank God. Well, only last week. But I would wake up and everyone would be like, why are you letting your eye get you down? It's only a little bit of red. Because I'm waking up, I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I think people forget as well, you can also feel your skin.
Yeah.
And it hurts and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's the third thing you think about. And every time you look, you always think people are looking at you. And it can be something that makes you so self-conscious.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And there's like so many different thousands of skin conditions out there that, and everyone is completely unique. But I do believe that when it comes to your skin, being gentle with it, using ingredients that are as close to nature as possible, and just, I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and it's so easy to also be like drawn into the whole stripping back thing.
It is. And it is that self-fulfilling prophecy. Like when you're stressed about it, the worse your skin is going to be.
Yeah.
Because your stress levels dictate your hormone levels, which dictates your level of sebum production in your skin,
Yeah.
which then dictates the level of acne breakouts
Yeah.
or less sebum, and then
Vicious cycle.
eczema. It's a vicious cycle. I say don't look in the mirror.
Yeah, literally. Just try not think about it too much, even though that is literally like
it's the number one thing you're thinking about. Yeah.
But you was on The Apprentice.
Yeah.
So you was the only one, if I'm right, to not win and get an investment.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? That's a very big question. I even raised my eyebrows. I said that.
Yeah. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Lord Sugar's a very kind of straight man, and he's very like, once he makes a decision, that's it.
Yeah. So to be...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for him to kind of make his decision to fire me and then be like, actually, I want to invest again is a big thing for him. And I feel very lucky, extremely
What do you think made him do that?
Do you know, so what wasn't shown on TV was a part of a show called the You're Hired show. So it's the last thing to be shown after The Apprentice is over.
Yeah.
And on my particular episode of the You're Hired show, it had like Michael McIntyre, Darren Bryan, my two favorite comedians there. And they were asking Lord Sugar all these questions and also asking Nick Hewer all these questions about any regrets, who else would you have invested in? And one particular question I think Daryl asked Nick Hewer was, who would you have invested in if you were Lord Sugar? And Nick said, I would have invested in Susie. And Lord Sugar was like, how, Nick? You didn't say that on the show. And Nick was like, I did. You just didn't listen.
You didn't listen to me, yeah.
So I think that planted a seed in Lord Sugar's head. But also, he didn't get to watch us when he was making the decisions in the boardroom. And he obviously saw me and saw everyone in their real performance and what they actually got up to on a day-to-day basis when the show aired on TV with everybody else. And I think he saw maybe a piece of himself in me, or me and him when we were younger, because I started off in a very similar route to Lord Sugar. I started off in a market store when I was 15.
Yeah.
He was selling TV aerials at the back of his van when he was that age, and selling
anything
boiled
for a hustle. I'm
beetroot.
from East London, I know. I've done it too.
I was going to say, you're from the same area.
Yeah.
So I think he must have seen some similarities between the two of us, and maybe saw, a little bit of a young Alan Sugar in me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously I think what Nick Hewer said to him kind of sat with him for a bit. So... And he's he's a billionaire, so he's got a lot of money, and thought, why not? Let's give it a shot.
The whole experience made you grow more as a businesswoman?
I think it made me more sure that I wanted to be a businesswoman, that I wanted to do things off of my own back. I was employed before I went on The Apprentice.
Yes, you was in investment banking.
I was.
Yeah.
And going on The Apprentice kind of reassured me more than ever that I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to do my own thing.
I actually used to be an accountant.
Did you?
Absolutely hated it. So I wasn't, and I always wanted to be like a banker, an investment banker or something like that. But I just, as soon as I got there, I knew that I hated it. So just didn't enjoy it at all. It wasn't my calling in life. My family was super supportive. Like they was just like, look, like you're a very clever girl, but we could see you going down that route a couple of years ago, but we just don't see it anymore. Was your family quite supportive of you and your decision to not do the investment banking anymore?
I mean, my mum is so easygoing. She's always been very supportive, whatever I wanted to do. I think she was disappointed in a way, because
without
have that,
even saying it, you can just sense. Yeah,
I think for my whole family, I come from a very traditional Chinese background where you do the whole rat race. You study well, you get good grades, you go to university.
There is a whole stereotype,
and then you go and you get a good job, and then you get a good pension, and then you retire, and then you have children halfway through, and then you make sure your kids do the same thing. So there is that expectation, and I think, me not following down that route for them was a disappointment in some ways, because they actually left that rat race in China to go to, they immigrated over to Australia, and then my mum and I to the UK, so that while they worked for themselves, they wanted to make sure that I had that opportunity to be able to have that stable job.
Yeah.
And so for me to not go down there, I messed it all up. And then I started off on my own anyway, because actually they inspired me to start up my own business.
So did your mum come over on her own?
Yeah, my mum and I came over to the UK from Australia.
That's incredible.
The two of us.
Yeah. What did your mum do? If you don't mind me asking.
So my mum she went to uni, and she was trained as a mechanical engineer back in China.
Cool.
But because of the language difference when she moved over to Australia and then obviously to the UK again, she couldn't get back into that role.
Yeah, it can hit quite hard.
And so she worked at a market store. She's Since COVID, she's like basically retired.
Mm.
But before then, she was working at a market store, selling the same thing at Greenwich Market, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have a plan B?
A plan B.
Did you have a backup plan?
In case Tropic didn't work out.
In case when you left your investment banking role,
Yeah.
Tropic didn't work out, Apprentice went to shit.
Oh God, I don't know. Maybe I would have tried to reapply for the Apprentice.
Yeah.
Or
Well, that's a good. Do you know what? So no, you didn't have a plan B.
No, I didn't.
Good.
I didn't have a
You
plan
knew
B.
it was going to work. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I just think at the end of the day, you know, if you're passionate about something, like life will work itself out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it won't always go to plan, but eventually it'll just work out. So you just have to go head first with plan A and deal with it when that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Maybe going with a plan B means that you don't fully commit to plan A. I don't know.
When you have like stressful situations, how do you deal with them? Like, what is the best way that you find that you deal with your stressful situations, or when it's just getting a bit too much?
Do you know, I think I'm actually really good at dealing with stress. I always say, you know, with my team as well, that we're not overwhelmed, we're just whelmed.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not stressed, we're just facing a challenge that we'll overcome. And for me, it's just taking a moment to stop, to not say or do anything impulsively.
And process your emotions.
Process your emotions and look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes stress happens when something unexpected happens.
Yeah.
But sometimes the thing that's unexpected is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
If you can look at it from a different perspective. And so I just always take a moment before I say anything or do anything. I take a moment, I look at the bigger picture. I ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? And that often helps me to calm down.
I've learned that a lot, you know, recently. And I had a therapist and she actually told me to do that. She was like, whenever you're dealing, you don't have to rush, because I used to always rush to answer people and rush to sort situations out. Just relax.
Yeah.
Because when you rush your decisions, it normally comes from either anger, stress, worry.
Yeah.
And it's not actually coming from the real you. And it's not actually coming from how you actually feel.
Yeah.
It's so important to process your emotions before you deal with any situation, I think.
It's so important. It's that irrational, rational part of your brain. And there's a really good book actually called The Chimp Paradox.
Okay.
Which kind of talks about that we have like a human side of our brain and a chimp side of our brain, which is the irrational versus the rational side.
Yeah.
So it's taking that moment to always access the human side, thinking about things, looking at the bigger picture, looking at things in a different perspective. How can I turn the stressful situation into actually a good thing?
Yeah.
And just questioning yourself. And then you calm down and realize it's not so bad. No one's going to die here. It's going to be fine.
So the stressful situation turning into a good thing, how I would normally see that is because it can either make you really learn from the situation, or it can force you into an uncomfortable situation that you might not have put yourself in.
Yeah.
And can make you grow quite a lot. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I think that often we like to live in a box of what we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And unless you step out of that box, your box is never going to grow and expand. And so it's great that you get pushed out of your boundaries sometimes. It's great that your limits get challenged sometimes. It's great that some things unexpected happen to you, because unless those things happen, you're never going to grow.
Explore.
Yeah. I mean, I listened to a YouTube video with Arnold Schwarzenegger a while ago. This might resonate with you actually. And he was saying something like, you know, when I work out, I keep on working out and working out until my muscles literally break and fail in order for them to grow again.
Yeah.
And what he was trying to say is that growth comes from failure.
Yeah, it does.
So he keeps on working out his muscles until they're completely shredded. They've fallen apart. He can't like lift another weight. But the next time he does it, that muscle is going to be stronger.
It's mad that you say that, because I actually had my best friend, so this is Alex, who's one of my PAs, but my best friend's also my PA. And I had a chat with her the other day. She looked a bit down in the dumps. It wasn't anything, I thought it was something completely different to what it was. And I said to her, like, are you okay? Like, come and talk to me. And she basically said to me she wasn't happy at work. And I'm the sort of person that, all right, let's sort this out now. So it pushed me to go to her, okay, what's the problem then? She was like, I just don't feel like I'm busy enough and I'm not being utilised enough. I was like, okay, let's make it busier then. So in the next week, we've got 3 podcast bookings, we've got 3 shoots, we've got I've got girls in, we're going for meetings and stuff. And I think you need to be put in them uncomfortable situations, have them uncomfortable conversations, and listen to other people as well, and listen to people's feedback to make you grow as a person. Obviously, you've got over 100 employees, haven't you?
I've got 450 now.
Oh, wow. Okay, Jesus, that is a lot. That is more than like my 5. Was it quite quick to grow, or has it been quite a steady growth?
So through the pandemic, it tripled in size. But most of them work in the factory, in operations, so making the products, pick, pack, dispatch. But yeah, it's a lot of people, and you're right. You have to listen to their opinions, and I really like how quickly you said, okay, let's deal with this right now, because sometimes it can be quite hard to listen to criticism, because it might feel
I
like
used to be the worst.
It might feel like, oh my God, you don't enjoy your job, you're working for me. Is there something wrong with me? It's very easy to look at it that way.
I think
it's great that you nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, I've never had anyone working for me. Georgia started working for me a year ago. Alex started about 5-6 months ago, and that first bit, me and Georgia hit heads quite a lot, because she's my best friend. She's quite quiet, and I can be very snappy.
Yeah,
not in a rude way, but I can take things very offensively.
Yeah,
and go to her, what do you mean?
Yeah,
and then she can't get into me, because I'm already like, what do you mean you don't understand what I'm saying? She can't read my mind.
Yeah.
But I've grown so much in the year as a boss, and I think you keep growing, you keep evolving. How would you say you are as a boss? Would you say you're a good boss?
I think I'm all right. I'd like to say that I'm a good boss. I hope my team will back me up on that. But I think, one of the hardest things when you first start having people working for you is that you expect everyone to be on your wavelength.
Yeah, this is what,
and you're like, why aren't you thinking and seeing things exactly the way that I see them?
Your passion, not theirs.
Why can't you read my mind?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you know exactly what's coming next? But then what you realize very quickly is that everyone does have their own minds, and it's really good, because
and it's really beneficial, because if they have the same mind as you, why do you need two of the same mind?
Exactly. And what you'll find is that they can sometimes offer better ideas than you do.
Yeah.
So it's about giving them that freedom and that flexibility.
Yeah.
So what I always say to my team is, we talk about what the overall objective is that we're trying to create, whether it's let's try and improve our green credentials, whether it's let's give people the best skin and let's win loads of awards, or whatever it is. And then I leave them to it. I have this sentence that I say to my team, which is, I trust you completely. I'll leave it to you.
Yeah.
And the moment you say that to someone, they have that sense of responsibility, that they're like, oh my God, I've got this. She's trusting me.
Yeah.
And that's when they use another part of their brain, not the follow part of the brain where they just do whatever you want because they want to please you, but the creative part of their brain.
I like that you said that as well, but there is a difference here, because the reason where I was going wrong is I was saying stuff like that to Georgia, and then I was just leaving her.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't really understanding it, as I wasn't explaining it enough. And I did still have that element of mind reading in there. So I think you still have to give a clear plan, and you still have to make the vision very clear.
Yes.
You can't just leave someone and make them feel stuck, or make them feel like they're alone. Yeah. And I think that's super important. So that's probably what you've mastered.
Yeah. But sharing with them the why. Like, if you say, book me a podcast and do this, this, and this, it's a case of, help me inspire my listeners.
Yeah.
What do you think we should do? Yes, we should do a podcast. And they might be like, oh, you could invite this person along and have this and have video and have this, like more ideas, because she's not thinking the goal is to get this podcast done. She's thinking the goal is to inspire Courtney's listeners.
The goal is to help people on different pages. Yeah,
exactly. So as long as you share the why, like, people will get it, and it'll save you more time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, whenever personality is a big thing when I'm employing someone. I have to have a click and a gel with them.
Yeah.
What would you say is the main things that you look for when you're employing people for Tropic?
Oh, do you know, it is that fact, like that X factor, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's that energy, it's that enthusiasm. If you ask someone like, why do you want to work at Tropic? Like, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
And they're just railing it off a job spec.
Yeah, you're like, okay, this person is not that passionate. I suppose.
And by the way, I've been there when I've applied for accounting jobs and stuff, and I've looked at the job spec before, and I've just said everything, and it was absolutely lying through my teeth. I didn't really want to work there. I was just seeing dollar signs. And I think that's why I can probably see through it as well.
Yeah. You need to feel the passion. Like, you want to feel that the other person is wanting to work for you, not just because they want the money, because that they genuinely believe in what you're doing and that they want to help you make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I look for. So it's asking the right questions to get that gauge from them. And the moment I feel that passion, I'm like, yes, you've got it.
Are you very involved in the interview process?
It depends on the role. On the more senior roles, I am. And we try to go through quite a strict interview process with trial days and, like testing them more than just an interview. But on the other positions, on like the more junior positions, I don't.
So you've had quite a lot of success. Obviously, you've been on The Apprentice, Forbes 30 Under 30.
Yeah.
What other successful? What would you say is the biggest achievement that you've had?
I would actually say, I'm just thinking here, So when I bought my mum that house, just before I did my A-levels, I was on cloud nine, like being able to smash through my GCSEs and my A-levels, do all the revision and be a full-time student, as well as making my body scrubs over the weekend and then selling them as well. And saving up enough money over the years to help my mum buy a house and have some money left over to fund my university studies. Like that for me is my biggest achievement. Like I'd never worked as hard as I did when I was a teenager.
Same, to be fair. When you're like the sleepless nights, and I used to sleep in my car and all stuff like that. And it's really nice to hear you say that as well, because I think a lot of the time people always think that we're so money driven, and you've got the pleasure. You've probably got lots and lots of money, but the pleasure that you've actually, the main pleasure is the fact that you was able to buy your mum a house. And it's rooted back to family. And I think a lot of people, there's passion and stuff, and that actually is probably a lot more exciting for you, the passion of the brand, than earning the money. Then helping your family is like,
it is. Like, don't get me wrong, like money's very important.
It's so important.
Obviously we need money. Round. It does, absolutely. But there is only so much that money can give you. And if you're always just chasing the money without the why and the reasoning behind it, like you'll never be satisfied or happy. And back then, all I wanted was for my mum and I to be self-sufficient. I wanted her to feel financially secure and not so stressed and worried, because my mum's like the opposite to me. She does get very stressed. She does get very worried. And I wanted to take that worry away from her. And getting her that house, getting us on the property ladder was a way of showing that we've got this. Like not many people are able to get on a property ladder, and we're on it now. And like this is the next new stage. And that feeling of being able to provide that for my mum, to give her that mental security, just is worth more to me than anything else I've ever achieved. So yeah.
Are you an only child?
I am, yeah.
Okay, cool. So what was growing up like with your mum?
It was amazing. So I was born in Shanghai. I was actually born under the one-child policy. So my mum could only have one in Shanghai.
So you was like,
that's it. This is it. It was really weird because actually, so all of my cousins are also only childs.
Under the one-child policy?
All under the one-child policy. And so I kind of grew up being very close to my cousins and my mum. And so from 0 to 6, I was living in Shanghai and had great memories, just eating like dumplings and dim sum every morning for breakfast.
For breakfast?
For breakfast, yeah.
Nice.
In China, you have that for breakfast.
Cool.
It was just a really, really fun childhood. And then when I was 6, I moved over to Australia to join my dad. So my dad left my mum and I when I was 1 to kind of start a new life in Australia. And we moved to Cairns initially. And life was suddenly very different. You know, I suddenly looked very different to a lot of the other kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, how was that growing up?
It was tough in the beginning because neither of my parents were fluent in English back then. And I obviously was learning how to speak English. And we went to, we lived in a very rough area of Sydney because we didn't have much money. And the school that I went to was also quite rough. And so the kids were pretty rude and racist. And it was really traumatizing actually growing up, because going from like a really safe home in Shanghai with my grandma and amazing food, like loads of friends, I was
confidence like, going, being right up there.
Exactly.
Being really feeling like a home, feeling like you belong there, to confidence being knocked right down.
Exactly. So that took some time for me to get used to. But I did teach myself English and I got fluent within like 3 months, which is amazing. And I remember being able to, you know, kids would say horrible things to me and I would be able to like shout at them back and be like, yes, I can speak the language. So it was a tough adjustment, and I started working with my parents. They were street vendors in Sydney.
Okay, cool.
And then after a few years, we decided to move up to Cairns in northern Queensland because it had just more opportunities. It was like this new tourism town that lots of people were going to. And then life was different in Cairns because the money that my parents made in Sydney suddenly stretched a lot further in Cairns. And my dad actually, because what he was selling in Sydney, he wanted to also sell in Cairns. But because of something to do with like stock not arriving on time or whatever, he had very limited stock, which meant he had to put up the prices of these toys that he was selling. And actually he made more money. So that was a good lesson from when I was a kid, like realizing, pricing, don't undervalue and price your products right. And he actually made more money. And we actually ended up living in quite a nice house in Cairns. And so life changed for me then. But then, you know, my parents were never really meant to be together.
Yeah. I was going to say that I couldn't work out whether they was together or not. Just
No.
Yeah, no.
No, they divorced. And my mum and I decided to leave Australia and start a new life somewhere else. And we picked London. So we flew halfway around the world to a completely new place and
quite
settled
scary.
here. Very scary. I was 13 years old, and I don't know, like I think neither of us thought through how hard it was going to be in London. Neither of us realized how expensive London is in comparison to Cairns in Australia. Neither of us realized how different the lifestyle, even like the weather. And you know, how long the days are, like relative to a tropical city in Australia.
James, who is literally obsessed with Australia. So he was saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's very different. It's like a shock to the senses in all areas. But what London did give us is just complete freedom and so many opportunities.
I love the UK. I love London.
Yeah, me too. There's so much opportunity here. It's such a cosmopolitan city. Like there's everything and anything that you want to do is here in London. Any foods you want to eat. Like for me to be able to start up a business when I was 15 years old at a market stall to fund my education on my mum's and my living, like what other city in the world can you do that? Do you know what I mean? Like the opportunities in the UK and London in particular is just astounding, and I feel very privileged to be here.
Got a big question. So what do you think is stopping people from excelling in London if there's so many opportunities and so many people are saying, but I can't do it?
I think it's fear.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's fear. I've spoken to quite a few want to be entrepreneurs who have said, oh my gosh, I had this business idea. I've always wanted to start off my own, like, but I can never get started. And I just say, why not? And people are so afraid of failure.
You didn't have opportunities and stuff.
I had £200. Yeah. And people are so afraid of failing. And that's what stops them from going for things. And I think often people take the safe route because it is tough.
It is tough. I mean, some people are going to say here, we're not all young and we don't all have nothing to lie back on. We've got responsibilities and stuff. Yeah. But I always just think like you have one life. And I know it's easier said than done, but you literally have one life. So yeah, you could fail. I'm not saying you might. You might. Your idea could fail. But there's always more ideas, and you can always make, like, I feel like people need to have a strong business plan. Yeah. And as long as you plan and you have a good business plan and you know exactly what you want to do and you have a strong plan, you're not just going into it willy-nilly and you're not just going into it blindsided, then you are very, very likely, if you're passionate and you're driven, you can make money doing anything.
I completely agree with that, Courtney. And it's asking yourself, like, how much do you want it? Like, why are you doing it? Because for some people, they want to start a business because they want to make some more money or they want to show off to their friends that they've got a business. Like, really think about why are you doing it? How much do you want it? Because once you figure that out, then just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid of failure.
So this was, for me, my whole thing was I've always been quite, I'd say I've always been quite money driven. Yeah. So when I was younger, all I wanted to do was just earn lots of money. I had figures in my head which I wanted to earn. Yeah. I wanted a massive house. I wanted to constantly be going on holiday, nice car. And I used to slog my ass off in the gym, doing 16-hour days, like sleeping in my car. And I absolutely hated it in the end. And to be honest with you, during lockdown, I wasn't earning a penny. I lost all my clients. I just invested over 150k in an app, which only had gym workouts on it. I was absolutely effed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But my passion come through. So I started doing these live workouts because I was enjoying them and because I wanted to. And I got my passion back and I wasn't earning a penny for like eight to 9 months. And I was just doing it purely for the passion. And yeah, I was obviously worried that this was never going to monetize. But then I thought on my feet and I thought, how can I monetize this? And I overnight changed my app from a gym workout app to a home workout app because I knew what my customers needed and I knew what I was enjoying and I knew that I could sell it. I didn't love gym workouts anymore. That wasn't me anymore. I know they're still beneficial and I know that loads of people are still going to get really amazing results from them. But for me, it wasn't my passion anymore. And I had to follow my passion and it paid off. And I know
look at where you are now.
Exactly. It's crazy, isn't it? But it's just, you have to take that opportunity and you have to grab it.
And adapt, you know.
Adaptation. Adaptation. Is so key.
Yeah. If something is not working, adapt.
Why you keep going for the same thing if it's not working?
But also, don't look at yourself. If you fail in something, don't be like, "What's wrong with me?" Look at the market. Maybe the market has changed. Maybe the demands of your customers have changed. If people aren't downloading your gym app, you could have been there, Courtney. You could have been like, "Oh my god, I'm a failure. No one's downloading my app."
Which happened to me for so many years.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you realize and you adapted and you thought, actually, it's not me. It's the industry has changed. The pandemic has changed the way people are working out. Let me adapt. Let me be smart about this. And you did, and it worked.
Yeah.
So it's about really focusing on the bigger picture, look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And in some of the failures that we face, look at that as an opportunity. Because like your app, when it was a gym-based app, all the other businesses on gym-based apps would also be in the same position.
Yeah.
If you're the first to move to a home-based app, then you're going to be the winner.
There's no point keep thinking, how am I going to make this work? If people can't get to the gym, why are you trying to... The definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I even say that in my workouts. I say to people, you can come into this workout, you can get 20 minutes in and you can quit and you can do it every day for a week and not change. The same motivation that you have and the same determination and discipline you have in your workout is the same thing that you should have in your job, in your day-to-day life, in your relationships. If you want to make it work, you can make it work. You just sometimes have to think on your feet.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely do. And it's great that you did that because look at where you are now.
Exactly, same as you. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you're facing with your career with Tropic?
I think it's always the same thing with every entrepreneur. It's finding the right people in your business.
Yeah.
I have some incredible members of staff at Tropic that I'm never letting go of.
Yeah.
Because they are amazing. But it's finding more people like them.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you.
It's attracting the right people, right? Who have your vision, who want to work hard, who have that hunger, and who also have the intelligence and the creativity to match. Like, people are the hardest thing in building any business.
A lot of people think they want it as well, and then they end up not wanting it. And it's it's quite soul destroying, isn't it, as well? When you think that you've got this amazing person and all of a sudden it's just like, you're not as interested as I thought you would be. And it's soul destroying, especially when we're so passionate about our businesses.
Yeah. And things will change. For me, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, Courtney, in your business. I do find that as a woman, and especially as a young woman starting out in business, you don't often get taken very seriously by people who you want to take you seriously. People who are older, people who have more experience in the industry, men, and you get knocked down. And I've tried on numerous occasions to employ people who are older, more experienced, with decades in the industry. And I've really struggled to make it work with them because they lack that mutual respect for me.
Yeah. And even though it is your business and you're not even being like a rude or pushy boss, like they just don't want to have the respect.
They just see you differently.
You don't deserve it.
Yeah. Even though they're working for you.
It's crazy that you actually say that because I thought you being in the business industry, it might not be like that. A beauty industry, sorry.
Yeah.
Because beauty is normally, like, you'd think like a woman in the beauty industry, too right. Like you're into it. That's your passion. Why would they not be listening to you? But it's not so much the industry that you're in, it's how much success you've got and how seriously you want to be taken, right?
Yeah. But if you look at the majority of beauty industry, like CEOs and founders and the people at the top, they're usually men. They're usually middle-aged men. Yeah. If you have, often they'll have like a girl who, who's in, I don't know, she's in PR or she's in marketing or she's a celebrity. She'll just be the face of it.
Yeah.
She won't fully own it.
Wow.
And she won't be involved in the day-to-day runnings of it. She's just the PR. And she'll have a whole team of people behind her who make all the stuff, come up with all the marketing, the design and everything. And she's just there to Instagram it, to sell it. And so that's what every industry usually expects. That at the top of a company is always a man, or the majority of the board is usually men. And you really find that if you research any big beauty brand, it's mostly men.
So another big, bold question. What would you say then is, this is such a typical question as well, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
What is your biggest tip or biggest piece of advice for a woman who is getting into business and is trying to be taken a little bit more seriously?
I think just be unapologetically you.
Yeah.
You will get knocked down.
Yeah, I've learned that so much.
There will be people who, if you do it for the right reasons, really, really figure out your why, make sure that your product or your service is going to make a positive impact on your customers' lives and for the wider planet. And just do whatever your gut tells you. And don't listen to naysayers. So at the end of it, just go for it. Just do it. And trust your own instincts. Trust your gut.
Honestly, you literally ooze positivity. Like you're like
Courtney.
A ray of sunshine. So thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, I think that's such a powerful. I'm not going to literally. I feel like you've just given such a positive message there to finish. I'm not going to ask you anything else after that because it's going to leave a smile on people's faces.
Thanks, Courtney.
But thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for your beautiful brand that is Tropic.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.